Okay, let us start. So let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Radha Govinda. Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, let us start. You all can hear me? Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Mataji. Yes.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Ayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhaveva cha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatesha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So where were we? So we were looking at the Arjuna's further doubts and his surrender, and then the Lord gave the argument saying that we are the soul and not the body. So you need to feel compassion for the body because the soul cannot be cut or killed or done anything. So it is eternal. Then he answered for the question of no enjoyment. For that he said, either you will be killed in the battlefield and attain heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. So it's a win-win situation, and you're a Kshatriya, you do your duty. So he says you're a Kshatriya, do your duty. So he comes to that because Arjuna was talking from this material platform. And then he said to go one step beyond. What did he say? Fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. Because Arjuna was worried. He said he knew the scriptures and he said it is sinful. So Krishna was saying you go beyond that enjoyment. That is, you do enjoy your life, but do it in a religious manner. That's what he said when he said you do your duty. So he gave us knowledge about that we are the Atma and not the body, and that is our true identity. And then also he talked about karma, where he said this is our prescribed duty. You have to do your duty because you have come into this world. There is a prescribed duty for everybody. So do a duty. And then he says go beyond that. That means understanding your soul and thing, understanding you have a duty. What we have to do? We have to do the thing without bothering about the happiness or distress or anything, because we have to tolerate everything. And why we have to do the work? He says, you do it for me selflessly. Nishkama Karma Yoga. Then you won't have any, without any material desire. That is happiness and success or failure and all that. Because you are just doing a duty and you are offering the results to the Lord. Why we are doing that? Because we have surrendered. And how we have surrendered? We accept that everything belongs to the Lord. Of course, everything, because though if we say the body is ours, still we don't know anything much about the body. We know only a little bit. How when you put the food and how what's happening inside, we don't know, right? So we have to accept that everything belongs to the Lord. Everything. So when everything is belonging to Him, so all we have to do is to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. So when he talked about this, so what happens if you do that? So he says, till now he's going deeper and deeper into the philosophy. I've described the knowledge to you through analytical study. Now I'm going to talk how you can come away from the bondage. Because he said, no, you will have sinful reactions. So how do you can? Now he's going to talk about how you have to work without fruitive results. That is Buddhi Yoga. Right? And why we have to do in this? He says, in this endeavor, there is no loss or damnation. Even if you are, in this path, you are doing little bit, you might only offer a little bit to the Lord. You have offered little service to the Lord. Doesn't matter. Whatever the step you have taken, it's not going to waste, because it will add cumulatively into your account. So even when you leave this body and take another birth, it goes with you. So he says there's no loss or diminution. And one more thing is, there won't be any fear of not taking this birth, because human form, what we have, is the most advantageous we have to take, because that's the one which has got the highest conscious level, and is the platform from which you can try to endeavor for coming out of this birth and death cycle. So he says, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. A little advancement on this path can protect from the most dangerous type of fear of not being born as a human. So there are some examples we looked at, Vibhishana, then Hanuman, how they did all their acts, even if it is burning Sri Lanka, but they had done it for the Lord. Now, how he says, now you have to do this beyond enjoyment. How do we do that? So that comes in this verse. Vyavasatmika buddhir eke kuru nandana bahusaka hi anantascha buddhayo vyavasat. This is a famous verse. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose. Resolute means they are determined. And their aim is one. That is to go back to the Lord. That is what their path is. And the intelligence of those who are irresolute, who are not, they are wavering and they are not thinking. They are many branched. That means they are distracted to any place. So here, Vyavasatmika Buddhi. So let us see what says in the purport, because this is a very important verse which we need to understand clearly. So Vyavasatmika. Vyavasat means resolute in Krishna consciousness. This is where Prabhupada writes, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, then their aim is one. So, but if not, they are many branched. So here it talks about the faith, a strong faith that by Krishna consciousness, one will be elevated to highest perfection of life. That is known as Vyavasatmika intelligence. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, what do you mean by faith? He says faith means Krishna Bhakti, means unflinching interest, trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relation to the material world with obligations. Because once you do that for the Lord, all the other obligations will be taken care of automatically, because we are surrendering to the Lord. We are doing everything. So the obligations to family traditions, humanity, or nationality is normally taken care of. And fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reaction from past good or bad deeds. See, both punya and papa will have some reactions. So it could be something which fruits will be there from the punya, and you will have to enjoy that. And also you have to suffer for your bad deeds also. So, and it's not that they will get compensated. No, this account is separate and that account is separate. That we have to understand. So both thing, and you have to handle both. So one is awake in Krishna consciousness. You need not endeavor for good results in his activities because you're doing it for the Lord, and all are that. So this is the highest perfection. And how we'll get into it is slowly we have to progress. So how do we become determined? See, we say Krishna conscious, you have to be in this conscious level. And how is it possible? It's not that easy because today I was just listening to one of Prabhupada's lecture on Isha Upanishads. He says, once you become a devotee, the whole world becomes your enemy because it's a big becomes a big challenge to be in this path. It's not that easy to be in this path. So we have to, that determination comes only by endeavoring. We have to abhyasa, we have to persevere in this to go that. We have to come to that level, saying that Vasudev Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Suddhalva. That is very rare, but to understand that everything is Krishna. Krishna is the cause of all causes. So to come to that realization, it takes many endeavor. Okay, so, but if you act, if Krishna is satisfied by one section, then everyone will be satisfied. So here, Prabhupada's life itself, if you can take, it was not that easy for him to come to this level, to establish this ISKCON society, right? Because he was told by his master that you spread this Krishna consciousness to the West, to the English-speaking people. And then he said, if you get money, try to print books. So these were the two instructions he had. But he was a grahastha, he was a businessman, but he was in Krishna consciousness, but it was difficult to go to the West. Only when he was somewhere in 70s, he could get the opportunity to go. But he didn't lose hope. He was all the time working for it. So he took sannyas, he left his family, he took sannyas, and he was alone in Vrindavan, but he was not despair because he was hoping his master will find him a way and he will get, and he was preparing for it. He didn't waste his time. He started translating because if he has to go to English people, he need the books in English. And here all the scriptures were in either in Bengali or in Sanskrit. So he spent his time in trying to translate it to English and then get it printed. So this is how it was a struggle. If you read it, it's not that easy because, and many people even advise him not to go in that age because his health will fail and all that. But still, he went, and then that's how he established. So here, this is what was his prerna, this mission by Srila, this prayer by this Srila Vishwanatha Chakura. He instructs in his famous verse for the spiritual master. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadan nagati kupopi, dhyan tuvanstasya yasastri sandhya, vande guru Sri Charanaranda. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day. So this was what was the inspiration for the Prabhupada, because he was all the time, he used to say to his devotees, I'm never alone because my spiritual master is with me. Because that was the order given by him, by the master, and it became his mission in life. Okay. So that's what it says. Once you satisfy your master, the Supreme Personality of God, it becomes satisfied. So then otherwise you will not be promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. So the whole process, what happens, what we are talking about being in this, doing seva for the Lord, depends on the perfect knowledge of the soul. That is, what is that? The soul, we are the soul and not the body concept. So unless we are understanding this concept practically, not just theoretically, then slowly we'll come out of from that sense gratification in the thing. So otherwise what happens, he'll be diverted by various types of hatred. So this is what was the importance in this Krishna consciousness to be thing. And what is that intelligence is the knowledge that we are the Atma and not the body. So it takes the resolution. But it is very difficult to be in this path. It's not that easy because we have come, different people have come at different stages into this path, right? So they would have had their past histories, past karmas, and their own conceptions. And to come out to this level, it takes time. It doesn't matter. But still, this is what the Lord says. You have to be resolute in this purpose once you come here. And that is the focused direction. And the more you do the thing, endeavor in it, slowly your faith gets strengthened. And if you get faith is strengthened, your determination also becomes strength. So this was the Prabhupada's mission. And he said to focus on and strengthen your faith. But what Krishna continues to say, he talked about the knowledge, but the men of small knowledge who don't believe in this Atma and this thing, what do? They get attached to flowery words of the Vedas. That's what he says, continues to say to Arjuna. See, you have to be resolute, right, in this path. But there are people who are not, because why they are not? They have small knowledge. That is, the knowledge is less. They are getting carried away by the flowery words of the Vedas. What is that? If you do this ritual, you will get this benefit, you will get wealth, you will get power, you can go to heavenly planets, you will get good birth, power, and so forth. So that's what there in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. So what happens? People will get carried away by that, and being desirous of sense gratification opulent, they say there's nothing more than this. I'm getting all this, why bother about mukti? So all they want is to just go to heavenly planets, enjoy their opulences and come back. So they get carried away by this. So they won't take to the Buddhi Yoga, which is what he was telling, right? Which is permanent. So men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas. Okay. And what happens in the midst of those who are attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So what is that verse? It says, Bhoga Ishwarya Prashakta. Bhoga means enjoyment. This is the propensity we all of us have. We want to enjoy. And Aishwarya is the opulence. That is, we are attracted to we want wealth, we want power, we want fame, and all that. So to control, and that to control over the other things. So these two things, if they are there, if we are attached to that, then you can never do service to the Lord. So people, then they cannot become fixed. So the Lord says why we should be fixed in determination, and what are the reasons why people are not fixed in it? Because they are much attracted to the Bhoga and Aishwarya, right? And it is very, it's not that we should not have opulence. We should have something and all. Opulences, we should have wealth, we should have this power. Okay, right. This all is required in the life, right? But too much is not. How we handle that is very important. Prabhupada compares it to fire. See, fire is required because you need the fire for heat, for your warmth, and you want to have it for cooking and all that. But how you handle the fire is very important, isn't it? Otherwise, you can burn yourself. Same way with the opulences, with whatever you have been getting it, we should be able to handle it properly. So, if you're too attached, it doesn't say you should not get it. If it is too attached to that, sense enjoyment happens, then your determination won't be there. For what? Determination for doing devotional service to the Lord. So that's what here clearly Krishna is telling us. This is the reason. If they get attached to that, and why? Because it stays in the Vedas and they get carried away. And he's telling the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes of nature. So Arjuna, you become transferred to three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety. Because Vedas, you might say that this is how it was written by the Vyas, right? That is to go, people know it takes time to understand clearly. So they go step by step. Gradually you go. And that is what is explained in the Karma Kanda. Only when you come to Upasa Kanda, that is the thing beyond, that's where the Upanishads are there and you go deep into the philosophy. Then you start understanding who I am and why we are what is the purpose of life and that. So that's why you go step by step. So Arjuna, so Krishna knows Arjuna knows all the Vedic scripture. So he's telling him, you go beyond that because it is nothing. Only then you will be free from the dualities of anxieties for being nothing. And all purposes of a small well can be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purpose of Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind. So here, what is the purpose of Vedas is to know Krishna. This is what Prabhupada writes in the purport. So, rituals and sacrifices mentioned in Karma Kanda of literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. Okay? It's not that it's wrong or anything. It's a gradual realization. And the purpose, and it is very clearly because even Krishna talks about that even in 15th chapter of this Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of studying Vedas is to know Lord Krishna. Okay, this because he is the premier cause. So if you go straight away to Krishna consciousness, then you don't have to go through the rituals. That's what here it says. He says to Arjuna to go beyond that. And it's also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam also. A person who is chanting your name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala, is situated on highest platform of self-realization. So here it is really confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 33 chapter and 7th sloka, that revival of Krishna consciousness of the individual being is the highest. Okay, that is to know that the Lord is the cause of all causes and our goal in life is to go back to him. So if you who is chanting your name, it could be born of a low family, need not be everything, but it's as good as him knowing the Vedic rituals and studying the Vedas. So this is the highest function. So it is clearly written in the Bhagavatam also. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of Vedas. So you don't get attached to the rituals. That's what here Krishna is clearly telling us to not to get attached to the rituals, and we have to think. So we need to go beyond that. That is the reason. So Veda. So whatever served by, because why he says small well means in the villages and all, no, they used to have a well for drinking water. There'll be another well for washing clothes and things like that for different purposes. Whereas if you go to a river, what happens? All the purpose of things can be taken care by the river itself. Same way, if you take to Krishna consciousness, then you're no need to go through the studying Vedic scriptures and all that. All you have to do is serve the Lord, taking to devotional service to the Lord. That is the purpose. So now, till now, he talked about Buddhi Yoga. He said how we need to serve the Lord, right? Now, in the next few verses, he's going to talk about Nishkama Karma Yoga. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Karmanya eva adhikara. You have an adhikara. You have a right to what to do perform your prescribed duty. But you are not entitled to the fruits of action. So, mark paleshu kadachan. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities. So, why he is telling you are not entitled to the fruits of action? Because you are not the cause of the results of your activities. You have done the action, but there are many other factors. You are not only your endeavor. There are many other things which are there. Factors are there for which you are not the cause. So he says, so the results of your activities, and there are many factors involved in it, and you will be one part of it. That's all. So you're not the complete owner for the results. So he says, that's why you're not entitled to the fruits. Then the question will come, why at all do some action if I'm not going to enjoy the results? So he says, don't be attached to not doing your duty. That means we have to do a duty. We have to do a prescribed duty, but we are not entitled to the fruits of action. So this is very important thing which we need to understand clearly. Nishkama Karma Yoga. So there are 3 considerations here. Prescribed duties. Anybody can read here. I think that's Hey Krishna, Sandeep Pai or anyone volunteer. Hare Krishna. Karpagam Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
You have the right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Purport. There are three considerations here: prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are the activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of material nature. Capricious work means actions without the sanction of authority, and inaction means not performing one's prescribed duty. The Lord advised that Arjuna not be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the results of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such action. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into three subdivisions, namely the routine work, emergency work, and desired activity. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of scriptural injunction without desire for result is action in the mode of goodness. Work with result becomes the cause of bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to the prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly lead to one to the path of liberation.
So here Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. That is, he is attaching himself to, I don't want to become in this. So that's another side of attachment. So such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. So any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. That is, if you are not doing a duty, is also sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. So here Krishna was clearly saying that you do your duty, but don't get attached to the fruits. Otherwise, what happens? You have to bear the consequence of that karma bandha. That's bondage to your fruitive activities. Okay. So, but you have to do a duty. Doesn't mean that you should not escape from that. And how we have to do the duty? You perform your duty equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. That is how we have to do your duty. And in that consciousness, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service. And in that consciousness, surrender into the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. So, Krishna is clearly explaining how to do your Nishkama Karma Yoga. You have to do the devotional service and you have to surrender. In that consciousness, you have to surrender unto the Lord. Okay, otherwise, you are misers because you want to enjoy. And what happens to them? A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all. Yoga means connect to the Lord. Okay. So do the work, whatever you're doing, do that. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great devotees free themselves from the results of work in this material world. This is how you can free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to God. So here very clearly. Otherwise, what happens? You are caught in this forest. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that has to be heard. Okay. So what happens once you start progressing in this, you become indifferent to whatever is happening around in the, slowly the detachment comes out from the, you don't have to work for the detachment to the material world. The more and more you get attached to the Lord, to the devotional service, what happens? Slowly other things you become indifferent to that. So this is what happens. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard of thee. So then, that is the program. When you do that, what happens? Your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas. And when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, you will have attained the divine consciousness. So this is what happens to you when you. So what does the Prabhupada says in his lecture in New York, that we have to decide, shall I work for sense gratification or shall I work for the satisfaction of Supreme? If the latter, then our life becomes spiritualized. Spiritual life does not mean that we have to change the activities in which we are already engaged, or that a body will change to something extraordinary. No. Same body, same features, same activities, same engagement, everything remains the same. But we have to decide whether the activities will be done from the spiritual platform or from the material. Whether you're going to do it for yourself, whether you want to get attached to the result. That is what it means. See that when you work and things, you get a salary. You think that you own the salary. But if you can use some part of that salary, part of the thing for the seva, then you're doing a little bit on the spiritual path. That means you understand that the work you have got, the intelligence you have got, everything is given by the Lord, and you have given an opportunity to work and you're able to earn something. It's all by His mercy. So if anything that happens to good to us, it is by His mercy, isn't it? And not by anything else. So then you have to use for the Lord. So sometimes people will argue, like, if I'm not in this body and I need not work, isn't it? Because if I'm not the body and I'm just the soul, and why work at all? Then Krishna says, no, you have to work. But only thing is you should not desire for the fruits of the activities. So, but if I enjoy, what will happen? Then you'll get bondage. You have to consequently, you get bound by the reactions of your punya or papa. You will have to bear the consequence. And what happens? Then you'll be bound by that. You'll be bound in this material world, and you have to take birth, cycle of birth and death, all the thing. Then you will think, why do at all? Why not work? You can't refrain from work also. So that is not. So here, Krishna, Lord Prabhupada says, you decide how your consciousness changes. Only a shift in your consciousness. You have to think, okay, everything is done. Everything belongs to the Lord. So, and whatever we are doing is only a small part of it. Small percentage of our effort is going into it. The rest is all given the plan by the Lord. So once you start thinking like that, then slowly you will try to use the resources for the Lord. So that shift in the consciousness is what is required. That's what the Lord is telling here for us. So what is the Buddhi Yoga by benefits of this? You get freedom from the good and bad reactions. So we are free because we are working for the Krishna consciousness. Then you will be free from the cycle of birth and death. That is the liberation from this miseries of this material world. And then you will be indifferent to the Vedic rituals, because then you are straight away on the Krishna consciousness path. Then realization of relationship with Krishna is the eternal. So he is the controller, he is the enjoyer, and he is the ultimate benefactor. So once you understand that he is the all in all, then what happens? Then he'll be working, doing the devotional service to this, and he goes back to God. So we can stop here because this is a big science which we have come in. And then in the coming verses, Krishna is going to tell us, Arjuna is going to ask, if such a person is there, can there be a person like that? And how they are working on it, such a dhira who is doing in this. What are the symptoms? How do we recognize such a person? So he's going to ask that. And then what are the reasons why there can't be a dhira? So what is that which is pulling us to do the sinful reactions? So Krishna is going to elaborate on that in the coming verses. So this is what it's all about. When he says you have to work with determination in the spiritual path, and how we have to do and what we have to do. There's no need to change our position or change our place or work, what we are doing, wherever we are and whatever we are doing and what we think, it's only our consciousness we have to shift. That we are not doing it for ourselves, we are doing for the Lord. Because Lord is the cause of everything, cause of all causes. So that is what he talked about, Buddhi Yoga and Nishkama Karma. And he said we have a right to do prescribed duties, but we don't have the rights to the fruits of the action. So with this, this is the deep science which he told. And because two reasons were there, the sinful reactions. And for family traditions, for that comes in the next chapter. Chapter 3, he gives the reasons for family tradition. But for sinful reactions and for indecision, he says that is what is covered in these verses. Okay, you have to be. And why we are not indecisive? Because why we are indecisive? Because we are attracted to bhoga. We want to enjoy and we want the aishwarya. We want to control. Because of that, we won't be able to have Vyavasatmika Buddhi. So that is the thing which you need to have. Okay, to be in this path. So we'll stop with this and see the other reasons. Vancha kalpatra abhyascha kripa sindrevacha patitam na pavnebho vaishnavyo namo. Hare Krishna. Let me